For over 70 years, three specific words have served as the ultimate global seal of quality: made in Germany. Whether it was a Mercedes sedan or a Siemens turbine, these words promised engineering perfection. We grew up viewing Germany not just as a country, but as a machine. It was the stable, boring, and reliable anchor of the world economy. But in late 2025, that machine officially broke. The unthinkable happened when Volkswagen, the very symbol of German industrial might, announced it was closing a factory inside Germany for the first time in its 88-year history. This was not just a business decision, it was a psychological earthquake. It signaled that the era of German dominance is over. The country is now facing a perfect storm of vanishing cheap energy, a demographic collapse, and a technological failure that has left its biggest companies fighting for survival. Economists are no longer whispering about a recession. They are openly talking about deindustrialization, which is the permanent dismantling of the nation's factory base. In this video, we are going to explore exactly how Europe's engines stalled, the energy suicide that triggered it, and what happens to the world when the fourth largest economy simply stops working. Chapter 1. The broken business model. To understand why this collapse is happening right now, we have to look at the German business model that worked so perfectly for 30 years. It was a simple three-step formula: import cheap energy from Russia, import cheap intermediate parts from Eastern Europe, and export high-value machines to China. This formula turned Germany into an export superpower. It allowed them to run massive trade surpluses and act as the rich banker of Europe. But in 2026, every single pillar of that model has collapsed simultaneously. The cheap Russian gas is gone forever, replaced by expensive liquid natural gas that costs 3 to 4 times as much. Eastern Europe is getting richer and no longer offers ultra-cheap labor. And most terrifyingly, China is no longer just a customer, it is now the primary competitor. China does not want to buy German machines anymore because they want to build their own. This has left Germany with a high-cost structure in a world that demands low costs. When your energy costs are double those of your competitors in the United States or China, you do not have a business, you have a museum. This is not a temporary dip, but a structural deletion of the industrial core. Chapter 2. The Kodak moment for cars. The beating heart of the German economy is undoubtedly the automotive industry. It directly or indirectly employs nearly 1 million people and accounts for a massive chunk of the country's exports. For decades, companies like BMW, Mercedes, and Volkswagen were untouchable because they mastered the internal combustion engine. This was the most complex consumer technology on Earth, and nobody could build an engine like the Germans. It was their economic moat. But the global shift to electric vehicles destroyed that moat overnight. An electric car is mechanically simple because the value is not in the engine, but in the battery and the software. Unfortunately, Germany is hopelessly behind on both. While German engineers were perfecting the diesel engine, China spent 15 years cornering the market on batteries and supply chains. Now, Chinese brands like BYD are flooding Europe with cars that are technologically superior and 20% cheaper than a Volkswagen. This is the Kodak moment for the German car industry. They are excellent at making a product that the world is slowly stopping to buy. The software disasters at Volkswagen, where boogie code delayed car launches for years, highlight a deeper cultural issue. Germany treats a car like a piece of hardware, while Tesla and the Chinese treat it like a smartphone on wheels. Chapter 3. The innovation gap. If the old industries are dying, surely the new tech industries are rising to take their place. This brings us to the tragedy of the Magdeburg failure. In 2023, there was massive hype about Intel building a $30 billion megafactory in Magdeburg, Germany. It was supposed to be the symbol of the new Germany and a hub for microchips and high-tech manufacturing. The government promised billions in subsidies to make it happen. But in July 2025, Intel officially canceled the project. The factory will not be built. This cancellation was a punch to the gut for the German government. It exposed a painful truth that Germany is not an attractive place for modern tech investment. The reasons cited were high energy costs, excessive bureaucracy, and a lack of skilled workers. While the United States is booming with AI data centers and chip fabricators, Germany is being skipped over. The country has virtually no presence in the artificial intelligence revolution. There is no German Google, no German NVIDIA, and no German OpenAI. The only major German tech company, SAP, was founded in 1972. This innovation gap means that as the old industrial jobs vanish, there are no new high-paying tech jobs to replace them. Chapter 4. The Energy Suicide. The most immediate cause of this crisis is the catastrophic failure of Germany's energy strategy. For 20 years, the country pursued a policy called the Energiewende, or energy transition. The plan was to shut down all nuclear power plants and rely entirely on wind, solar, and cheap Russian gas as a bridge fuel. But when the geopolitical situation exploded, that bridge collapsed. Germany was left with some of the highest electricity prices in the industrial world. This is fatal for heavy industries like chemicals, steel, and glass. We are seeing the consequences with BASF, the largest chemical company in the world. They are permanently shutting down major production lines at their flagship Ludwigshafen plant because they simply can't afford the energy bill. They are moving those jobs to China and the United States, where energy is abundant and cheap. This is what economists call carbon leakage. Germany is not actually reducing global emissions, it's just exporting its factories to countries with lower standards. By shutting down nuclear power before the green infrastructure was ready, Germany essentially committed industrial suicide. They voluntarily made their own products too expensive to sell, handing a massive competitive advantage to their global rivals. Chapter 5. The Demographic Time Bomb. Even if Germany fixed its energy and tech problems tomorrow, it faces an even deadlier enemy that cannot be solved with money, which is demographics. Germany has one of the oldest populations on the planet. The baby boomer generation, which is the massive cohort of workers who built the post-war economic miracle, is retiring right now. Every year, roughly 400,000 more people leave the labor market than enter it. This creates a labor shortage that paralyzes the economy. You see it everywhere as trains are canceled because there are no drivers, restaurants close early because there are no waiters, and engineering firms turn down contracts because they have no staff. This is not just an inconvenience, it's a mathematical ceiling on growth. An economy fundamentally cannot grow if its workforce is shrinking. Furthermore, this aging population creates a massive financial burden. The shrinking pool of young workers have to pay higher taxes to fund the pensions and healthcare of the growing pool of retirees. This drives up the cost of labor even further, making German companies even less competitive globally. It's a vicious cycle. The government is trying to attract skilled immigration to plug the holes, but the complex language barrier and high tax rates make Germany less attractive to top global talent compared to the United States or Canada. Chapter 6. The Bureaucratic Paralysis. There's a running joke in Germany that the country runs on fax machines. Unfortunately, it's not really a joke. While Estonia and Denmark have fully digitized governments, Germany is drowning in paper. Obtaining a building permit for a wind turbine can take 6 years. Registering a new business involves endless appointments and physical forms. This bureaucratic sclerosis acts like sand in the gears of the economy. In a world that rewards speed and agility, Germany is designed for slowness and caution. The famous debt brake, or Schuldenbremse, is a constitutional rule that limits government borrowing and has become a controversial shackle. While the United States and China pumped trillions into their economies to modernize infrastructure and subsidize green tech, Germany voluntarily tied its own hands, refusing to borrow money to invest in its crumbling bridges and railways and digital networks. The result is a country that looks wealthy on paper, but feels broken in reality. Trains are notoriously late, the internet is slow, and the schools are falling behind. This refusal to invest in the future because of a cultural obsession with saving money has left the country with 20th century infrastructure in a 21st century world. The effective government is effectively saving its way into irrelevance, prioritizing a balanced budget over a functioning economy. Chapter 7. the Mittelstand crisis. Despite the doom and gloom, we must acknowledge the backbone of the German economy, known as the Mittelstand. These are thousands of hidden champions, which are small to medium-sized family-owned companies that dominate niche markets globally. Whether it's specialized screws or medical lasers, these companies have historically been the most resilient part of Germany. However, even the Mittelstand is cracking. These companies are often located in rural areas, making them the first to feel the labor shortage. They are energy-intensive, making them vulnerable to electricity prices, and many are run by aging patriarchs who cannot find successors. A wave of insolvencies hit the sector in 2025 and 2026. The danger is that if the Mittelstand breaks, the social fabric of Germany breaks with it. These companies provide the high-paying jobs in small towns that keep the country stable. If they close or move abroad,